discuss what are the requirements in software development or software engineering. Okay, so let's drink some coffee. Go. Next slide, please. Slide. Okay, so functional requirements. Functional requirements are the requirements that specify what a system or application is supposed to do. They define the features, capabilities, and functions that the system must provide to meet user needs and fulfill its intended purpose. These requirements describe how the system behaves in specific situations and interactions, ensuring that it performs its task effectively. So, the key characteristics of functional requirements defines system behavior. It focuses on what the system must accomplish. User-centric, often derived from user needs or business objectives. Input and output specify the inputs the system should accept and the outputs it should produce. Specify the measurable, clearly articulated to avoid ambiguity. All right, specific and measurable. So yeah, those are the key characteristics of functional requirements. Examples of functional requirements are authentication and authorization. Users must log in with a username and password. The system should restrict access to unauthorized users. So that is an example of functional requirement. Data processing. The system should allow users to input data and generate report. So that is one of the examples of functional requirements. Uploaded files must be validated before processing. So, so that is also an example of functional requirements. Another are business rules. Discounts must be applied only to orders above $100. Late fees must be calculated daily after due date. Another example of functional requirements is integrations. The system, for example, the system must integrate with a payment gateway for transactions. API requests must comply with the RESTful standard. So, why functional requirements are important? Foundations for development guides developers on what to build. Clear expectations provide a shared understanding for stakeholders. Basis for testing helps QA teams verify that the system meets its intended purpose. Okay, these requirements often appear in documentation such as software requirements specification or user stories in agile methodologies. Okay, okay. So next is non-functional requirements. Okay, so for non-functional requirements, it specify the qualities or constraints of a system rather than what it does. Okay, so it's not what it does, it's the qualities. So those are for non-functional requirements. They define the standards and conditions the system must meet to ensure it performs effectively, efficiently, and reliably. Non-functional requirements often focus on how system should behave rather than what it do. Um, Key characteristics of non-functional requirements: system quality attributes focus on performance, security, usability, and other qualities. Constraints and standards often define system-wide constraints rather than individual features. Okay, for features, it's are functional, and for system-wide constraints, those are non-functional. Measured through metrics, quad, quantifiable criteria such as response time, uptime, or error rate. So, like for example, an example of this is when you're developing feature, um, you don't optimize first. You're just going to focus first on functional requirements, and then you're gonna handle the non-functional requirements after you've established that it's working, the functional requirements are all met. Then that's the time you're going to optimize your application. If it's response time is quick, if it doesn't crash. So those are non-functional requirements. So yeah, here are the examples of non-functional requirements. Performance: the system must handle 10,000 current concurrent users with an average response time of less than 2 seconds. Queries must return results within 500 milliseconds. Scalability: the system should support scaling to accommodate a 50% increase in traffic during peak hours. Um, Security: data must be encrypted using EAS256 encryption. Users must be locked out after three failed login attempts. Okay, so that's okay. So that is a non-functional. Yeah, why is it a non-functional? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so availability, the system must have 99.9% uptime. So yeah, that is obvious. Well, with no more than 1 hour of downtime per month. Reliability, the system must recover from failure within 5 minutes. Um, yeah, that is like a behavior, system-wide behavior. Usability, system must comply with WCAG 2.1 standards for accessibility. Users must be able to complete registration within 3 minutes. Maintainability: code base must adhere to the defined coding standards and include 90% test coverage. System updates should not cause more than 2 hours of downtime. So code base must adhere to the defined coding standards. Like for example, typing, like in front end, using TypeScript. Because we're using TypeScript, we should also take advantage of its typing system. That is part of the coding standard. Readability of your code. Your code should not suck. It should not be noob code, and it should have a 90% test coverage. Compatibility: the application must support the latest two versions of all major browsers. The system must integrate with third-party APIs seamlessly. What? Is that a non-functional? Yeah, I think. Yeah. Okay, why non-functional requirements are important? User experience. Ensure the system meets user expectations beyond functionality. System robustness. Improve reliability, scalability, and performance. Long-term success. Facilitate maintainability and adaptability to future needs. Regulatory compliance: address legal, security, or industry-specific requirements. Distinguishing functional and non-functional requirements. Okay, so aspects, focus, type, example. Non-functional requirements focus on what the system do. Non-functional requirements, how the system performs or behaves. Okay, so it's different. So what the system do, what do you do, and what the system perform or behave. So for example, if you're a human, right, for me, what is my functional requirements? So I function as a software developer. I develop softwares. So that is what I do. What are my non-functional requirements? So I work hard under pressure, and I am a rock star. I snub at people. Okay, so that is how I behave. So that is my non-functional requirements. So, mm, what else? What other terms should we call that in psychology? So, what you do is what's your job, and how do you behave It's your non-functional attributes. Okay, so type, features and capabilities. Yeah, so that is your, like your, if it's in HR, I think that's your like hard skills, your features and capabilities. And your soft skills should be your qualities and constraints. So like, are you friendly? Do you are you understanding some kind of soft skill sheets like that? Okay, example, the system must send notification, and for the system must send notification, and that is a functional requirement. So for non-functional requirement, notifications must be delivered within 2 minutes. Okay, okay, so both types of requirements are critical and to create a well-rounded successful system. Okay, so that's it for non-functional requirements. So let's go to the technical requirements. Okay, for technical requirements, it specifies the technical aspects and constraints that the system, application, or project must adhere to in order to function correctly. They define the tools, technologies, infrastructures, and standards necessary to support both functional and non-functional requirements, ensuring the system is built and deployed effectively. Okay, so that is a technical aspects and constraints that the system application must adhere in order to function correctly. Okay, so the key characteristics of technical requirements are system-centric, focus on the underlying technologies and setup. Implementation details provide guidance on tools, frameworks, and protocols. Um, Supportive rules facilitate the implementation of functional and non-functional requirements. Yeah, an example of technical aspects are, we're going to discuss here. The examples of technical requirements are hardware requirements. The server must have at least 64 gigabyte of RAM and 1 terabyte of SSD storage. The application must run on devices with a minimum of 4 gigabyte of RAM. So for software requirements, the backend must use .NET 8 and the front end must use Angular 18. The database must be PostgreSQL version 15 or later. Alright, so for integration requirements, APIs must use RESTful standards and data and return data in JSON format. The application must integrate with the Stripe payment gateway. For network requirements, the system must operate on a minimum bandwidth of 1 gigabyte. Data between the application and server must use HTTPS for security communication. For development requirements, code must follow the company's coding standards. Um, CI/CD pipelines must be configured using GitHub Actions. Security requirements. All data at rest must be encrypted using AES 256, and the system must follow multi-factor authentication. Scalability requirements. The architecture must support horizontal scaling for the web server, and the load balancer must distribute traffic across multiple instances. For deployment requirements, the application must be containerized using Docker, and the production environments must run on AWS Elastic Kubernetes service. Okay, so why technical requirements are important? Define the infrastructure, ensure all components work together as intended. Um, Guide development, provide clear technical guidelines for developers and engineers. Ensure compatibility, guarantee compatibility between various system components and external integrations. Facilitate maintenance. Define technologies and tools that define future maintenance. Okay, relation to other requirements. Functional requirements define what the system does. Okay, so for example, the system must allow users to log in. Non-functional requirements define how the system performs. Example is login require request must be processed under 1 second. And for technical requirements, define the tools and infrastructures to achieve both. Example, the authentication module must use OAuth 2.0 and run on Node.js. So technical requirements are crucial for aligning the project with current technologies and best practices, ensuring the system is robust, scalable, and maintainable. Right, so next slide is data requirements. Their data requirements specify the data that a system needs to collect, store, process, and manage to achieve its objectives. Right, so it specifies the data that a system needs to collect. What are the data that it needs to collect so that it can store, it can process, and manage to achieve its objectives. What is the objective of your system? What are the data that it needs to gather, right? So these requirements define the structure, format, sources, and rules associated with the data used by the system. They are essential for ensuring the system operates effectively and provides accurate and meaningful outputs. So, key characteristics of data requirements: data centric. Focus on the data itself rather than the system functionality or performance. So, data requirements are really the blood of systems. So, you have to define clearly what are the data that you need to gather. Okay, so detailed includes specifics about data types, structures, relationships, and constraints. Integral to system design. Ensure proper data flow and management within the system. Example of data requirements, data collection. The system must collect user information including name, email, phone number, and address. Data must be gathered from IoT sensors every 5 minutes. Okay, so data storage. All user profiles must be stored in a relational database with tables for users, rules, and permissions. Historical transaction data must be retained for a minimum of 5 or 7 years, something like that. Okay, so data format: users must be stored in a string with a maximum length of 50 characters. Dates must be stored in ISO 8601 format. So yeah, this is the ISO 8601 format for the date. So it's year MMDD. Man, I can't remember that. So data sources, product information must be imported from an external API. Customer demographics must be retrieved from a third-party analytics data relationships. A customer can have multiple orders, but each order belongs to each. Yeah, so validation, email address must follow a standard email format and be unique. Data security, sensitive user data such as password must be encrypted before storage. Yeah, okay, so that is part of the data requirements. Everything, I think, everything data. Data processing. The system must aggregate sales data daily. Oh man, this is too long. I'm already tired. Okay, so let's just continue. Why data requirements are important. Ensure data is accurate, consistent, and reliable. System functionality. Provide the information the system needs to perform its functions. Regulatory compliance, such address legal requirements like GDPR or HIPAA. Um, Efficiency, optimize storage and processing for better performance. In relation to other requirements, functional requirements define how the system interacts with data. Non-functional requirements, data define constraints on data handling, encryption, and performance. Technical requirements specify tools or platforms for data management. Yeah, so user, so I'm so tired. Uh, yeah, okay. I'm so tired now. Okay, so let's just continue. I'm so tired now. Um, so after the data requirement, we're going to read about integration requirements. Okay, so this specify how different systems, components, or services should interact with each other. These requirements define the standards, protocols, methods, and tools needed to ensure seamless communication and data exchange between huh? disparate system, disparate, disparate systems. Integration requirements are critical for achieving interoperability, enabling data sharing, ensuring that various parts of a system or external services work together effectively. Security and compliance requirements. Security and compliance requirements are essential aspects of any system, focusing on safeguarding sensitive data, protecting against unauthorized access, and ensuring adherence to legal and industry-specific regulations. These requirements define how systems must handle, store, and process data to ensure privacy, integrity, and availability while also complying with relevant standards and laws. Yeah. Financial requirements specify the financial aspects that need to be considered when planning, implementing, and maintaining a system, project, or business operation. These requirements focus on budget, cost, resources, financial constraints, and relevant goals associated with the project. They help ensure that the project remains financially viable and aligns with the organization's financial goals. Okay, so that's it. I'm tired. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and pay me by clicking the super thanks button. Please, please, I need that. I need to see if money really goes to my account. And yeah, I'll just continue um, with the other detailed maybe an animation or something for other requirements. But who knows? But this requires time, and I'll not be motivated if I don't see any money. Okay, so please motivate me by giving me a super thanks. All right, so cool. Thanks. Bye bye.